Hey everybody, welcome to the 19th episode of the Bark Night Podcast. I am your host Patrick, and today I have Dan Carter with me to talk about the latest movie from 20th Century Studios, or Disney, in the Alien franchise, Alien Romulus. So this one is directed by Fede Alvarez, debuted at number 1, and with a budget of $80 million, has grossed $230 million. So it is a hit for them. So, Dan, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself for any new viewers we have?
Yes, sir. My name is Dan Carter, as Pat said. I am a lifelong friend of his and a lover of good movies, good scary movies, and particularly the Alien franchise. And I'm happy that he brought me on to discuss this movie with you.
Awesome, glad to have you.
Yes, of course. That's a weird word I said there. That's all right.
It was a word.
Yeah.
That's the countryman coming out.
You know it.
So, I think a good place to start with this would be, would you like to contextualize what the Alien franchise means to you and just kind of your history with it?
Yeah, so growing up with my father, action movies was kind of his big thing. And my mother was always kind of more of like along the lines of like horror and scary movies. And as such, we watched Aliens probably like a lot as a kid. I definitely saw that movie way before I should have in my development. Plus, back then there was like on TV, and so it was edited and stuff. So Aliens was my first introduction into the franchise. I actually didn't see Alien for many years after I had seen Aliens. I saw Alien 3 before I saw Alien, actually. And then just ever since then, I was a giant fan of the franchise. And every time a new installment comes out, I make sure I mark it in my calendar and go see it. I love the creature. The xenomorph is just iconic in my eyes, and I just every time this franchise comes back around again, I love to dive back into it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Sort of my history with all of it is that, it's not all that dissimilar. I grew up watching the movies. We had them on VHS. When we were growing up, everything you watched was really on cable because cable and telephone were so expensive that to have HBO or anything like that was like, that's what they called them, premium channels back then.
Mm-hmm.
And so most people, what you see is just what's playing on cable. And I feel like I sound like such an old man saying that, but I was a kid. So
back in my day.
Yeah. So you're always seeing the edited version of these things, unless you've got the purchased, VHS tape of it. But we didn't. We had recorded tapes from like watching them on TV, which it's like almost like the legal bootleg, almost like.
Right. I don't know if it was legal. I think there was a big thing that said you weren't supposed to record them, but that's all right.
Well, I think I don't think they played that at the beginning of like just shows and movies.
Oh, I can't remember.
I can't remember either. But yeah, so I would watch them on these recorded VHS tapes, and I don't think I ever had any purchased tapes of these, but I did have a ton of the action figures.
Yeah.
And I had those, and I had the Predator action figures.
Mm-hmm.
I had Terminator ones.
Which were great. Like, that's something I don't think a lot of people understand. Like, the early 90s, like, R-rated films had kids' action figures you could go out and buy. Mm-hmm. Like, I had RoboCop. I had, as you said, the Aliens, Predator, a couple of them.
Yeah, and they had the vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
They had all of it. And some of them would come with little rolled-up comics.
That's
inside them. You remember that?
I do.
I still have a couple of those in my, I have like an old tote in my closet with all of my like 80s and 90s comic books, and I have some of the Alien versus Predator ones in there.
That's pretty cool. I don't have those anymore.
They're awesome. And I can't believe I still have them. It's because this tote has literally, like when I was a kid, I put all this stuff in this tote because I was like, I like the comics are even in like the bagged protectors. Mm-hmm. And it has just traveled with me, and it traveled with me to college, traveled with me when I moved to Rochester. It's traveled with me everywhere.
That's fantastic.
And Yeah, so I've got a storied history with this franchise. From a big part of it is through like the comics and the
Hmm.
toys.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna actually, I forgot to bring that up. I did have the toys too, growing up, and they were fantastic. They would have it's not like the movie aliens in it, but like they had like weird, like Earth animals that were like the alien version of that, which were
Yeah, yeah, I
just
remember
fun, just
that.
super fun.
Yep. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about this movie. So you and I have not talked about this yet. We
We
saw it
haven't,
opening weekend,
indeed.
and that was what, a week and a half ago now. That was
Is it
the 15th.
been
That
that
was
long?
that'll be 2 weeks tomorrow.
That's
So
insane.
because we both saw it opening night, right? For
Yeah,
the Thursday early screening or whatever.
Thursdays. Yeah, when all the popcorn buckets were still sold out.
Yeah, yeah.
Frustrating.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I wanted to compartmentalize how we talk about it this time,
Okay.
just because like I have mixed feelings. And so I was like, I want to compartmentalize everything so that I start with the good things, the things
Okay.
that I really liked about the movie. And then so I'm calling it the good, the bad, and the ugly.
All right.
And so we're starting with the good because there's so much good about it, and I was like, I want to start this episode on a positive note and focus on that for a while before we get to the other things.
The other things.
The other things. So
Okay.
overall, I mean, what do you think? What are the good things? What are the things you loved about it?
All right. What I loved about it is I loved the atmosphere he built. I love the. It was a space station, right? It wasn't a ship this time. Space
Yeah, it was a
station,
space station.
which gave me big time Dead Space 2 vibes, which is funny because Dead Space kind of, spun off, like, didn't spin off of, but like the Dead Space video game series that I really liked,
Yeah.
took some cues from the Alien franchise. It's kind of funny that now you see kind of like Dead Space cues in this new Aliens movie. Just kind of funny how that happens. But yeah, the space station stuff I thought was an awesome setting. I liked the creature designs for the most part. I thought the face huggers were really well implemented as a threat in this movie. The cast, the main character, I forget her name.
Let's before we
Yep.
get too far away from
Yep.
it, let's go back to that space station thing for a second.
Yes.
The setting was really cool, and not only so I've never played Dead Space, so it didn't remind me of that, but I did play Alien Isolation. And the day after I watched this movie, I started Alien Isolation again, and it really reminds me of that a lot.
Completely agree. Yeah. Completely agree.
I think the franchise at its core is almost like a haunted house in space
Yeah.
type thing, you know?
There's a monster somewhere. Instead of a serial killer, it's a xenomorph.
Yeah, and what was really cool about the setting with this is like, just like a video game, is you're going through levels or
Hmm.
you're going through different rooms in the haunted house, and each one has its own thing in it.
Yeah.
So like you had that initial scene where they introduce you to the cast, which in a
Hmm.
video game is the cutscene, right?
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
You have a cutscene that it starts the game with that where it's like these are your characters, and then it's like all right, and you're gonna play this character,
Hmm.
and then you go in and you're walking around, and just like in Isolation, you got like a good 20 minutes, 30 minutes of play before like anything even happens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But you are scared that whole time because you don't know when something's going to happen.
You
I
know.
jumped
Yeah. You know
many
something's
times.
coming, but you don't know when. Like oh yeah, that,
Right.
that game has some fantastic things very early in it to give you a jump scare. Like I remember going down like a hallway, and then like all of a sudden like fire just shot up from the floor because like the place was like derelict a little bit, and that scared me quite a bit when that happened. But just a bunch of stuff like that, a bunch of set dressing. And you're right, this movie does have that same kind of feel where you just builds the tension, where you like this location itself is alien to the people even exploring it, and that builds the tension because it's designed that way to do so.
Right. And I mean, aesthetically, it's so cool.
Mhm.
Like every room has its own character. Each room is a character, I guess would be a better way to put it.
Yeah, you did fine.
But like, the room that they're in where all there's two rooms that they run into where there's all the face huggers, but the
Hmm.
one it's got like the red light in it. That's all really cool. Like,
Hmm.
so it is like they're going through, and each place is like it's like another room in a haunted house where they're
Yeah,
like, okay, now you're going down this hallway. And they're just walking down a hallway for a minute. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we're in a hallway that has turned into, the nest or whatever, Okay, now the next level is you traveling up the elevator shaft. Yeah. All right, final level, you're in the spaceship leaving the space station. So I think extremely strong the setting is. So yeah. Sorry, I wanted to. Before you got too far away from the setting, I wanted to back up and go and do a little deep diving into that one. So what else were you talking about?
Yes, I was going to say that I like the lead actress and her character, whose name's escaping me right now. What was it? It was
Kaylee Spaney.
Oh no, her character's name. I mean to say
Rain.
That's right. Okay, her and her brother Andy. They were both really good, both really compelling characters.
Rain and Andy were great. Andy, brilliant,
fantastic.
He knocked it out of the park.
Really cool take on the whole synthetic thing too. That the Aliens franchise is also it's prevalent. There's synthetics in those franchises, and it was a really cool take to see like this damaged one that the people obviously raised and showed love to, and how he was, showing love kind of towards them from what they gave him. And so those two characters stood out for me.
I'd never seen him in anything.
No, I haven't either. I'd like to see him in a lot more stuff. He was great.
Yeah, they used his character wonderfully. You're right that there's always a synthetic on board. They even said it in Aliens when he's like, when she's getting upset about Bishop, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even consider it. There's it's standard procedure to have a synthetic on board.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
But that scene where they're going through that room, and he stops, and the camera slowly zooms in on him, and he's like, "Run!"
Yeah,
that was his delivery of just that one word. And the timing that they used with it was so good, and
fantastic,
I think that's one of the things that I think is going to kind of become iconic in this movie is the delivery of that line in that scene. Yeah,
I can see that. I can absolutely see that. The rest of the cast kind of aren't the same level. The girl, the other, oh my gosh, not the one who gets chest burst, but the other character.
The pregnant girl?
Yeah. She was very good. KK. And she carried a lot of the story, too, and I thought she was very good. But, so those three, for me, were the standout, like, characters in the movie.
I liked Tyler.
Tyler was the potential boyfriend, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kay's brother.
I'll save that for the bad. Never mind. Okay. No, I won't say it now.
Okay. I liked all of them. The Navarro, the girl that gets chest bursted. I don't know. You didn't watch the trailers. They show her getting chest bursted in the trailers. She's the one that they showed.
Yeah.
So I remember we talked about that with the trailer, and I was like, "Yeah, don't watch it. I mean, you're seeing a lot." And actually, there's the one guy. You know that scene where it's like showing the guy, the guy that's like basically being an asshole the whole time. That guy, you're like, oh, so you're gonna die. Like
we're just waiting for him to die.
Yeah. They're like, oh, they're making this guy out to be like
the world's biggest prick. Yeah.
Like you're like the worst person on this entire space station. Like you're not gonna make it.
No one even want to be around this guy like for more than like an hour.
Right. You're just like why do you hang out with this guy?
he's my cousin. They said or something. It's like I have cousins too. I don't have to see him all the time.
I think I have cousins that I see like every couple years. Like this guy could be one of them. Like and they're actually good people. Like if this guy was my cousin, I would never see him. Especially if I could travel to space. Like I would never see this dude again. Like see ya. But yeah, anyways, they show him like with the face hugger jumping on his face. So it like kind of insinuates that he gets face hugged. But Navarro, they straight up show it. They show the scene where she uses the 3D thing, the X-ray, which I'll say, that thing, pretty cool.
That was cool, yeah.
Yeah, really liked the introduction of that. I was like, oh man, this thing's awesome. I think that was another thing. All the technology that they introduced is pretty cool.
Yeah. So back to your point about the trailer, I went with my friend Hawley to see the movie, and after the chest burst scene happened, she goes, that was literally the whole trailer. I'm like, yeah, I heard. That's why I avoided it. But somehow I still felt it coming. I think it maybe like one of the early trailers I saw might have shown like the facehugger jump at the bald or short-haired girl's characters. I think I kind of clocked it still, but I
Yeah,
imagine it wasn't as bad as seeing the whole thing already before.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I didn't care.
Yeah,
Like, having seen it, I was like, you know what, like, I'm fine. I mean, that kind of, like, when you go into this, like, it's very clear when you meet this crew that who's going to live and who's going to die.
yeah,
You know? Like,
yeah. I mean, sure,
like,
completely.
like you look at the asshole guy in Navarro, and you're like, yeah, they're going to die.
Yeah, you
There's
two
no
are.
way. And then you look at like Kay and Tyler, and you're like, those two are the wild cards as to whether they live or not.
Yeah,
And then you look at Rain, you're like, definitely gonna live. And you're like,
no,
Andy, you're a synthetic. They could tear you in half. You'll
and you'd
still
be
be
all right.
alive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it about like the Kay and the Tyler characters. Like the other two, as you said, you meet the crew, you know already, and the other ones are kind of hopeful for, but you're like, it's good, not a good chance for you.
Yeah. Like what's his name? The last guy to die in the original Alien. Always had the bandana on.
Parker?
Parker, yes.
Yeah. Oh, I was
Yeah,
rooting
he
for Parker so hard
so me too. Every time I
every
always
time.
root for him because like he reminds me of like I know so many people who are just like Parker.
Mhm.
Honestly, I know so many people that are just like the other guy too that Parker hangs out with the whole time, and it's so funny all the things I notice about their characters over time, like their whole focus on like just not getting paid very much and
Or
like oh I'll do it but you know you got to pay me,
yeah,
and then like he's like or like when they're like well I don't think I'm gonna do that unless you pay me. And
or
then
like
he's like, "Well, you might not. We, you know, if you don't, we can keep everything." And he's like, "Oh, I'll be right on it. We're good."
yeah, yeah, or like the one scene they're like, I think his name was Burke. Quote me if I'm wrong on that, but like
Burke is
they're
the corporate guy in Aliens.
oh, that's right. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, moving on. So there's a scene where they're like, he asked him, Parker asked him, how long does it take to do repairs? He's like, oh, about 16 hours. And then Parker's like, be about 24 hours. We'll get it done.
Yeah, and then didn't they like negotiate down to 20 or something
I think
too?
so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I watched that movie. I watched Alien.
Mhm.
I've watched Alien and Aliens since I watched this because it got me so hyped for them.
Sure.
And so I think that's one of the great things about this too was that it for me reinvigorated the franchise
Yeah. It,
because they do so many things right.
yeah, they needed it. The franchise did.
Yeah. So what else you got?
What else I got? Creature design. You can tell the practical effects were used extensively in it,
Yep.
and the aliens all looked great. The facehuggers looked
They
great.
had animatronics.
Hmm.
They had dudes in suits
Hmm.
per
And
usual.
I love that. You can always just tell
Yeah.
good effects of that nature, and so
You
I love that.
can.
I love that part of it. Yeah, I think without going into like the bad and the ugly as you want to, I think those
Hmm.
were the aspects of this movie I remember. The score was great. The music was great as always with these movies.
Yeah, let's talk about the music for a second. So I really liked it going in, and so I heard some people online complaining about it. I was like, "You guys are out of your minds."
Really.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's. I mean, everybody has their own taste, so you know, it is what it is. But I loved it. So it's first of all, it takes many, many, many cues from Alien.
Oh yeah.
Many. It also takes some cues from Aliens. The score there also really reminded me of the Evil Dead Rise score. I listened
Okay.
to that while I
Okay.
was painting because I'm a psychopath
Yeah.
over the weekend, and
I mean,
I listened to I literally listened to Alien Romulus. Like I was downstairs painting the basement walls, and then I was painting the laundry room walls. And while I was doing it, I was listening. I listened to Alien Romulus, then I listened to Alien, then I listened to Aliens, and then I listened to Evil Dead Rise. And there are some songs in Evil Dead Rise that I think took a lot of inspiration from Alien. But I think that going forward, Alien Romulus might be my go-to score for space horror video game or board games.
Oh, nice.
So like Nemesis,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Zombicide
Escape the Dark
Invader.
Sector,
Yep.
which I also have the vinyl for that board game too. But Zombicide Invader,
Mm-hmm.
anything like that, where it's like a space horror, which I have a surprisingly large amount of. But
I
and more
have
on the
some
way.
too. Yes.
Yeah, so I think that the score was really, really, really great. And it varies in its style too. Like there's some songs on it that are like bum 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 bum, where it's like
Yeah.
that like electronic, like fast, but then there's some that are super, super somber. So I really enjoyed it and I've listened to it a couple times over. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
I really like the score.
I look
You know
forward
me
to.
though. I'm
Yeah.
big on music.
Yeah. Definitely. Completely understand. So yeah, those were I think the things I liked the most about the movie were those aspects. Maybe is there something else that maybe I just am blanking on that you really liked that you wanted to discuss?
I got some here, and I'm surprised you didn't mention them. The first thing I really liked is almost one of the first things they did in it, bringing back the original Alien
Oh,
for
okay.
one last rampage. And that to me was so awesome because they're like you come in and you see all these dead bodies everywhere and you're like, how did this happen? And the guy's like, well, we found the alien from the first movie and he was frozen in space and we thought him out and he murdered everybody.
I mean, that will
And we
happen.
killed him in the end, but he murdered everybody.
Yes.
So
He did a
and to
murder.
me, yeah, and so I think it's so awesome that they gave him one last rampage before killing him, and that shot of him like up in the rafters or whatever, like
Oh, the
strung up.
Jesus pose.
Yeah,
It's what it
super
was.
super cool. It was, and there's probably some symbolism there that I'm not quite picking up on the meaning of, but yeah, that's great. And before they released this, they announced they're like, we have a prequel comic book that we're
Oh, that's right.
releasing for this movie. And everybody was like, why the hell wouldn't you release it now? Why
Hmm.
are you releasing it in October? And a lot of people were upset. This is why.
That makes
Because
sense.
because now you know. And I guarantee that comic book is about this aliens rampage.
No, it has to be.
It has to be, right?
Yeah. I had heard there
So
was a
I'm super
prequel comic
excited
book.
about
Yeah.
that now.
I'll have to read that. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about that. What else did I have? The entire visual style of the movie
Oh, sure. Yeah.
matches the aesthetics of the original movie very well. The way they start the movie, the music that they use, the computer screens, all of it is very reminiscent of the first movie, and I very very much appreciated that. And I think some of the movies, I mean, granted, there's large gaps between the movies,
Mhm.
but with this one, I think it's 20 years, I believe they said,
I think
after
that's
the
yeah.
original Alien, right? So
Hmm.
it's 20 years, and then 37 years later is
Aliens.
Aliens.
Yeah.
And so
And
it
like
should be pretty close to this, but they're able to introduce, like the first version of the rifle
mhm.
that the Colonial Marines are going to be using, and I think that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
But like that whole thing with the visual style, them harkening back to the original, I really like that.
I think I saw some of those. I always called them Purina doors as a kid, like with the red and white checkers on them. But
Yeah,
saw some of those. So I was happy to see those popping up.
yeah, that was all really cool. Like the computer screens that they used, all the beeping, that bloop 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 bloop,
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff that like you just don't see in movies anymore. And Fede Alvarez is like, we're gonna see it today.
We'll show you. Yeah.
Yeah, loved that. So here's one I'm surprised you didn't mention.
I'm ready.
So like the alien growing out of the amniotic sac, and like when its claw comes out and it's like, "Yeah." Like to me, hard Stan Winston Pumpkinhead vibes.
All right, I can give you that. I just thought it was quick. I got to go to like the bad or the ugly. I was like all of a sudden like he was just chest burst, and now there's an alien. But I know what you're saying. We'll go back to it. The scene you're talking about, yeah, that was pretty gnarly. And like that character who, well, we kind of alluded to it, but the character that does the prodding, which is all of a sudden him getting the what you're talking about.
Yeah.
uh, deserved it. So yeah, that was really cool. You're right. I didn't really make that connection, but yeah, I can see that now. Actually,
Keep an eye out for it next time through because it gave me. I was like, oh my god, this is just like Pumpkinhead. I thought you were gonna point that out.
no, I didn't pick up on that one. I'll have to now, or pay attention to it now. I mean to say.
Yeah. I guess one thing that I don't know if this is, I put it in the good section, is
Mm-hmm.
that Fede Alvarez didn't go all out with his gore like he did in The Evil Dead 2013. And I think that's a good thing, because this is, I mean, it's these movies aren't known for just, you don't want to, they're not known for, okay, we spilled more blood in the newest Alien movie than we have in any other horror movie in 20 years or whatever, because
Right.
that's like the award he won for, or not award, but like the accolade he got
Accolade,
for
sure.
the 2013 Evil Dead there. But like that movie's grisly as hell.
Oh,
You've
sure
got
is.
like the razor blade scene, you've got like people hacking limbs off. It's like one of the most like brutal movies out there. He didn't go all out like that, and I think that's a good thing because I don't think it necessarily fits this franchise.
Well, I mean, this franchise did have the chest burster scene, which, for its time, that was the most graphic thing anyone had seen. I think.
Yeah, but I think that I don't think you need to like focus solely on pushing the envelope
You don't want.
in
You're
this
saying
as much.
you don't
But
want.
plus, it's a.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, no, you go ahead.
I was just saying you don't want them to try to like purposely try to top that. Is what you're saying, right?
Right.
Okay.
I don't want it
Yeah.
to become the Game of Thrones problem where you're doing things just to, just to
One up.
do them.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, I do think I would like to see a gorier cut of the movie. Like I think it probably exists
I think so too.
because I noticed a lot of the kills were kind of like cut off.
Hmm.
Like when Tyler gets killed, for example, his
Yeah.
like when the thing comes out and kills him, you don't get to see it very well.
No, you don't. You see, like you
But
hear the noise.
yeah, and I was fine with it, but like I would welcome it. I mean, the Alien movies are well known for their director's cuts. I
Mm-hmm.
would welcome a gorier cut of this movie that they can call a special edition or whatever, like they did
Hmm.
with the other ones. Keep it for the 4K, and I wouldn't be surprised if Disney was like, "Hey, why don't you cut a toned down version of this for theaters, and then we'll give you a special edition like we did for Alien and Aliens and call it a day." And he's probably like, "Okay."
That's probably true, actually. I forget.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind, just like what we said, got to sell some toys.
That's true.
But like
I
you probably want kids to be able to watch this, like we did.
Yeah. Of course, they're not gonna. Sorry, they're not gonna have like TBS to watch it on, but they'll find it at some point in time. I'm sure.
Does TBS not exist anymore?
It probably does, but I don't think anyone has it.
I certainly don't.
I don't have it. But yeah, I
That's what I
completely
got
agree
for
with
the
you.
good.
Yeah. All right, buddy.
Any feedback on my feedback?
I like it. I like everything you said. The take of that one claw scene there, I need to rewatch because I like that take. That makes me happy. And that makes me happy.
You do.
And then yeah, as you said, all the way it's shot and everything is fantastic. And yeah, I can't argue with anything you said. I completely agree with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then let's get into the bad.
All right.
Um,
All right. You kick it off.
I will kick it off. So I want to preface what I'm about to say here with we all know what the bad is going to be because it's the same things everybody's been complaining about, and it does not ruin the movie.
I don't feel he ruins it.
It just makes it not a perfect movie, and that is what I've been saying to everybody that asks me about the movie. Is it? And I see this review so often. Is it's not a perfect movie, but it does so much more well than it does poorly that it makes up for it in the end. And I think rating wise, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I
I'd
think
probably
so.
give Aliens and Alien 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah. This is the third best in the franchise. Like, you don't need to be argued too hard.
100%. This is the best movie since Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
So, with all that being said,
Yeah.
I mean, the big one is Ian Holmes' CGI.
Yeah.
It's bad. There's no getting around it.
It felt unnecessary. Like,
It
I,
did.
like how do I've been trying to figure out how to say this. You didn't need to have it in there. You could have had
Yeah.
just generic. You could have had another version of Andy laying there, and just had like that be the android that you find. It didn't have to be Ian Holm, a guy who passed away in 2020, who, as you said, like they just, it wasn't like a cameo. Like, he was a full character.
He was a character. You see him a lot. He's got screen time.
Yeah, Rook was his name.
Rook was his name.
And it's
And
just
Uncanny Valley was his game.
yes. And like mid distance, it was okay. It was passable, but they did so much like close up on his face and the mouth just did not work, and
Yeah.
takes you out of it a bit.
Yeah. And so I think my biggest issue with it is that it didn't need to be CGI.
Right.
This is not a character who's just standing there talking to you. Regular, like at the water cooler.
Mm-hmm.
This is a torn to pieces android.
Yeah.
They could have had it be an animatronic. They could have had it be a lookalike. Somebody, because I mean, for what
That's
it's
true.
worth, Ian Holmes' Ash character in the original Alien. So if I guess to back up for a moment, if anybody's watching this and hasn't seen this movie, I mean,
That's a big, yeah.
that's crazy. But what we're talking about here is the fact that like there's an android CGI character. He's a cameo of the character Ash from the first movie.
Right.
So just to put that little explanation in there, if somebody's like, but his character in the original Alien is not like a unique looking dude. He's very generic. He's a
That's
super
the whole
generic
idea.
looking dude.
That's
Yeah,
the
so
idea.
you could get an actor playing him and do something like they do with Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian.
Right.
Where you've got a young actor playing him, you've got the original actor voicing him, you've got CGI making up the difference, and for the most part it works. My opinion, don't do either of those.
Nope.
Anyways, just use an animatronic.
Yeah.
And have the face be maybe like torn up a little bit wherever it doesn't quite pass, and maybe put some distance between you and this character.
Yeah. Instead of
But
just
they don't.
right in
It's
your face.
close up. The mouth specifically looks
Yeah.
very bad.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Um,
And, yeah. Yeah. But you just brought up a good point. Like you said, it's a animatronic, it's a robot, and it was torn apart. Why couldn't they just have like the face part be like robot, and like maybe have like this part be like noticeable skin? Then you solve the problem there. But I think they obviously wanted to have the Ian Holm face there.
Very much wanted to do that, and honestly, I just don't understand why. Because I mean, yeah, they were bending over backwards to make that happen, and it just wasn't working.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And I think I said it once already, but it wasn't necessary.
And if maybe they could have, I don't know. I mean, I think every scenario I talk through where it's where you're trying to make it work is like it's just not working. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Like the technology is simply not there. I hope that this has made enough money that there's people back at Disney right now that are just tinkering away to improve it like they do with so many movies now.
Yeah.
So that the movie that releases on physical and digital in a month or whatever is much better than the version we saw.
Yeah.
I hope that's what's happening. And I hope a special edition gets released in 10 years where it looks perfect.
Yeah.
That's the world we live in now. So
Well, you're not wrong.
we'll see. But right now, the version I saw in theaters that's not the best version of Rook. And yeah, that's kind of my whole spiel on that character. He looked fine when he comes through on the monitor. I was like, oh, look this is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Do this the whole time. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Like
they went too hard on it. Like
yeah.
it was a main character, not main character, but what's the word here? Supporting character. Yeah.
Yeah. It was more than a cameo.
Yeah.
That is true. The voice was fine too.
Oh,
I guess it was probably AI created or something, but The voice was fine. I was cool with that. Any inconsistencies, they added like little like interference to
Mm-hmm.
cover up. Cool. Yeah, keep doing that. What surprised me most about it is that it really stands out in a movie that utilizes practical effects so much.
Right. Right. And yeah. And we just sitting here spitballing, we came up with a couple ideas I think solve it. But I mean, it's noticeable. It's a noticeable thing that I think everyone, as you said, who watches this movie is going to come away with their own opinion on.
Yeah.
So it's worth mentioning that it is an issue.
I think they should have just had a different actor play the same character and just try to make him look as much like that character as possible and call it a day.
Not to toot my own horn, but I really like the double Andy idea.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I will say, I did do some reading on that, and the reason that Fede Alvarez did it, and this made me feel a little bit better about it, the reason that he did it was that he was always surprised that Ash's character was never seen again. Because you have all these movies, you have this whole universe, and it's just never utilized. And apparently Ian Holm had really wanted to bring that character back, and just nobody ever asked him.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Well, general public's not going to know that, but that's interesting though.
And so he had passed away, and apparently in his latter years of his life, his wife said that he had become pretty incensed with Hollywood, basically, because they weren't bringing him on for parts, and he thought they had just kind of forgotten about him. So she had said that after Fede Alvarez had brought the idea up for her, she was all for it, and she was like, I think he would really love that you're doing this, and so I think that it's almost like a tribute to Ian Holm.
Okay.
And it might be something that as they release these new versions of it where they improve the special effects in that area, that maybe we feel a little bit better about. Now, with that being said, I have watched Rogue One recently. I have watched Rogue One recently, and I have watched Tron Legacy recently, and the special effects still stand out as the one nitpick of both of those movies. So because they both do the same thing, the younger version of Jeff Bridges, and then bringing back
Peter
Cushing in Rogue One. That one specifically, it's literally just a CGI character, basically.
Right.
Doesn't look good. But yeah, I mean, it's the backstory behind it makes me feel a little bit better about it, and I'm like, okay,
I hadn't heard that. I get that kind of, yeah.
Makes you feel better, right?
It does, yeah. Doesn't feel so gratuitous, I guess.
Yeah. So they were completely in support of it, and I mean, it's hard to argue with, because when you know all of that, you're like, okay, so that's why they didn't want to use a different actor, and that's why they didn't want to do this, and that's why they wanted it to be him and his likeness and his voice and all these things as close as you can get. Okay. I get it, I guess.
Respectable.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the strengths of Fede Alvarez in this, is that you can just tell he loves this franchise and he loves all of these movies.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So much. But with that being said, I also kind of think that that's a little bit of his downfall here, because one of the other things I had for the bad is the non-stop references to the original, which at a certain point become distracting.
They do, yeah. I think one of the first things we see in the movie is a piece of the wreckage, and the wreckage spins and it says Nostromo, and you're like, oh, well, okay then, we're going down this path right away.
Yeah. So that one's not one of the more egregious, but it sets the stage for what you're about to get.
Yeah,
they're like, yeah, This is where we're going.
We're going.
Join us. I think the one that, you know what, you tell me, what is the one that stands out to you as the, if you could remove one reference from the movie, what would it be?
Well, that's tough. I really don't know if I would remove any of those. Can't really come up with anything off hand like this. Maybe the fact that the alien still had the little harpoon in his chest from when Ripley shot him out of the the spaceship in the first movie, but I guess they just really wanted to hammer home that it was the same alien, and that's how they would do that. But yeah, I do like. Well, give me some more examples, and I can let you know how I feel about them, or if I didn't pick up on them.
Okay. Well, I mean, we've mentioned a bunch of them already. You know, they heavily involve the original ship.
Hmm.
They involve the original alien. They involve Ash when they talk to the. All of these are off the top of my head too, so
Yeah,
I'm
no,
definitely
fine.
gonna miss a lot of these. But when they're talking to Andy, and he's like, "Oh, I prefer artificial person," or
Hmm.
whatever he says. Because yeah, he calls him a synthetic, and he's like, "I prefer artificial person," and that's the same line that Bishop says in Aliens.
Yeah, that would be the one reference I wish they could take out of there. Would not be from the first movie, but we can get to that too
Um,
eventually.
the big one would be when Andy jumps down the elevator shaft and
Yes.
kicks the alien down to the bottom, and then he's like, "Get away from her, you bitch."
Yep, that would be the one I would take out. That I
That
did
would be
not
the one I
enjoy.
would take out too.
That
I actually
that
really, I was
that
just like, that was the one where I was just like, too far.
I groaned. I
You've gone too far.
audibly groaned. I'm like,
There's no reason for him to say it.
no, there's no reference. That movie hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, there is no reference. Like,
Yeah,
there's nothing happened earlier in the movie that would make him want to say that. You
yeah.
know, like
He's not like
he acts
foul.
like it's
Yeah,
he's
he's not foul
talking to
mouth.
us.
Yeah, yeah. He's not foul mouth. He's not even. You never heard him say the word bitch before, and
No,
it felt bad. Like I said, I groaned. I was like, come on, you're better than
yeah,
that.
you just like sink in your seat a little
Like,
bit.
oh.
Like
So
a lot of
that,
people in the theater I
yeah,
was in liked it. They laughed, and I was just like, "This isn't funny, guys."
same theater, same thing. A couple people next to me like clapped at that moment. And I'm like, not for me. No, thank you.
Yeah. First of all, I'm not one to clap in movies, anyways. But
No, that's been happening more and more lately. I feel like.
well, you know, I can't fault people for having a good time, but no.
No. Yeah.
So, what did you have for other bad things? You had referenced something earlier,
Yeah. I know this is gonna be maybe just me, but the one character we referenced
probably.
the least, yeah, probably the character who was just the dick bag for being that way.
Yep.
I He had such a thick British accent. I couldn't understand half the things he said.
There's something in the water.
Don't want in the water, governor. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
There's something in the water.
And sorry to any British people watching, but my God, I could not understand a word that guy was saying. And every time he was on screen, I'm like, can we just kill this guy already so I can understand what the characters are saying? Like, and like, it's just like, then part of me is like, well, if they grew up in this mining colony and Wayland Utani doesn't let him leave the mining colony, how in the hell does this guy have a thick British accent? Like, where do you pick this up from? Which I know is just going a little bit inside baseball, but
That is too far.
yeah,
Yes.
but I could not stand his voice at a certain point, and I just was like, my God, I can't hear a word this man's saying. So
You know, so I didn't ever I'm not with you on that
that's
one
fine.
whatsoever. And I don't know why I knew. I was like, well, if he's prefacing it, then yeah, he's probably alone on it. Um,
Yeah, and that's fine. And I will wear that cross.
you know what it also might be. So I mean, maybe you didn't have good speakers in your theater. You know, that does happen where sometimes the audio levels are off or something, and you just can't.
That's possible.
Sometimes you just can't hear people talk.
Governor.
You're like, no, it was just this guy. It was bad.
No, that's all right. I mean, I complained about it to my friend I went to a movie with, and she said the same thing. But maybe it was just the two of us.
Maybe. I'll keep an eye out for it next time around and see what I think.
You're gonna be like, he's dumb. This is fine.
Who knows?
Yeah. A certain point for the bad, I would also say there was a couple like weird things that I didn't love, like the one space station actually having like a full functioning alien hive in it. Were you okay with that? Like how they set the movie up, and then all of a sudden there was just a full hive over in Romulus section.
Yeah, I was fine with that.
Is that okay?
I see why it's a complaint though. And I in the moment, I didn't pick up on it whatsoever. Like, oh, why would this be here? But like, it makes sense because I have seen the director's cut of Alien,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a hive in it.
I was right too. You're right.
Where like they have like Dallas and the other crew members.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I don't prefer the director's cut of Alien because I think the original is just very tight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when she gets to the hive, I think it impacts the pacing a little bit. But I digress.
Sure. Okay.
But it's established that is a thing, and
That's true.
I actually I read about this a little bit because like I'm telling you,
research. I'll do all the research.
Almost 2 weeks of just reading through Reddit in between seeing the movie and here, and some people hate it. A lot of people have conspiracy theories. I saw conspiracy theories about this that some people think that Ridley Scott is trying to retroactively retcon the alien queen out of the universe.
Why?
Because he didn't like it. He didn't like the fact that there was a queen.
That was from Aliens. That's James Cameron. That makes sense.
Exactly.
Okay.
He didn't like how they did it, and I don't see it that way. And maybe he does, but he doesn't have control over this universe like that. And Disney wants to sell that Queen toy. Mm-hmm. They're not retconning that. If they retcon anything, it'll be 3 in Resurrection.
Yeah.
They ain't retconning Aliens.
No.
That movie's huge.
It is.
But, so what I do like, I like the idea that this species is so resilient that if you have just one, they can get a whole colony up and running.
Yeah, okay.
And I also saw some people talking about how in the comics they establish that one of the drone aliens could could evolve into a queen.
Okay.
So the whole idea is that one facehugger can create one alien. That alien can start creating this hive if it's got food. And humans are the food.
Yeah, they are.
That's where it's getting the sustenance. And it can start this thing up and going. And if it gets big enough, then it can evolve. If the hive gets big enough, this drone can evolve into a queen. And then it just is pumping out eggs and spreading.
I like your pumping out eggs motion.
Yeah, yes. And so I actually really like it because I like that idea that this is such a perfect species
organism
that it can it's a perfect organism that it can do that.
Okay.
It can get a whole hive colony up and running just by having one of them.
Right, and I didn't have a problem with it, but my friend, she's like, what was the point if they're like his whole other thing over here? I'm like, you got me. But so I just wanted to bring that up.
It's creating a hive. It's creating a colony, and it's trying to spread.
Yep, exactly. You're right.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
And I think I like it because I read up on that explanation of it, and just that thought that it's so perfect that it can do that. I like it because of that.
Yeah.
What else you got?
What else I got? This is for the bad, right?
Yep, we're in the bad.
We're in the bad. Did you enjoy the zero gravity scene?
I loved it.
Loved it. Okay. Did you does zero gravity require like a breathing apparatus? I'm just being ignorant here. I don't know. Is it? Okay.
No.
There's still oxygen in zero gravity. Okay.
Right, so that's why we got all our people up in the space station right now, in real life, and they've got like the weird little thing that they drink coffee out of and all that because it has to be a certain apparatus or else the liquid they're drinking will just spread like that.
All right, well, ignore that. I sound stupid. I was just trying to think of stuff I didn't like. I did like it, but I could see people complaining about it. Yeah, dude, I don't know.
If there's one complaint I have is that I didn't see somebody die in it.
Right. He's got some acid into the walls and stuff, right? That's all that really happened there. And
it spreads around, but it's super tense the way they do it. It's
true.
super tense, and it's very visually stunning to me, I believe. And I mean, I think that's all I would say to improve it would be that add one more character in there and have them die in this scene.
Maybe Tyler lives until that point.
Maybe, yeah. And I think that would be that reminds me of one, you know, kind of to go back to what I was saying about the kills being not so gruesome. I would have loved to have seen the asshole guy die more.
Worse,
you know, because you see him melting, and you can tell a lot's going on there, but it cuts away from it.
Yeah,
and that's why I think there's a more in a gorier version of that scene, and I think we're going to see it eventually.
Specifically with the two you referenced, with the jerkbag guy and
the two
Tyler
guys.
There's definitely more there when it happens. Maybe when was it in K, the other one, the other girl? Okay, maybe when she gets nommed too, maybe there's more to that, but because that was just kind of a quick shot too of when she meets her end. But
I didn't even know she died.
Really?
I was waiting the whole time. I was like, was she dead? Like, because you can't tell. It's like it's you know it with what's happening there, but like, yeah, I couldn't tell until the end. And she's like, "I'm the sole survivor," and it's like, "Oh, okay, Kay's dead."
She did that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. But I thought she should have lived. I think they should have let Kay live.
Yeah.
And maybe they will. You know, anything's possible at this point. During that scene though, where she's giving birth, I was there with you remember my buddy T-Winkle?
Yeah, of course.
I look over at him during that scene where she's giving birth to the hybrid, and he's sitting in his seat just like this, just like like I've never seen him like that before. He's just like,
it was intense, yeah. And that thing was nightmare fuel. That creature.
Yeah, but wait.
Yep, I'm waiting.
That's the we're not there yet.
Not there yet.
So the only other thing I think is in the bad section is the Black Goo.
Prometheus callback?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like they go in depth on it. He's like, this is the Black Goo from the Prometheus expedition and blah, blah, blah. And when he's giving that whole exposition, I'm sitting there in my seat. I'm just like, oh, God, here we go.
Here we go again with this.
Yeah. I was like, well, it's official. They're now retconning those movies. Like,
be honest with you, I meant to bring that up and I just spaced on it. Yeah, that whole, I think he actually says Promethean fire at one point. He's like, we get it. We know. You've spent 2 movies telling us about how important this goo is.
Yeah.
I don't much care.
Yeah. And so the mention of that and then the fact that it's a plot device throughout it is like, listen, guys, I don't really want any more Black Goo in my life.
No, we're all good.
Don't need it. You know what surprised me, though? When I watched Alien, I never connected the dots that the Black Goo is like on the facehugger eggs.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Like it's like dripping like upwards, you know, like the Black Goo is. And I was just like, I was watching it. I was like, oh, look, that's the Black Goo. That's in the movie.
And the goo.
And I was like, oh, that's where he got this idea of Black Goo from. But like, you know, it's just something you don't really think about. And then I watched Alien and I'm like, oh, it's right there. We got Black Goo. It was there the whole time. You didn't need to tell me anything more about it, though.
No.
Let alone, 2.5 movies about it. But I digress.
Okay, Deb, you're right. I did forget that I didn't love that. That's because I don't love the Prometheus movie. So
yeah, and that all of that ties back to the same idea that Fede Alvarez loves this franchise, and he seems to love Ridley Scott's. And for what it's worth, there are fans of Prometheus and Covenant out there.
Sure,
I don't think Prometheus is that bad. It's just like, it's the odd man out because it doesn't really have, anything to do with the franchise, barely. But I guess this kind of, as they tell more and more stories, they tie it more and more into the franchise.
Oh, no, you see, we meant this the whole time.
Yeah. I watched Alien Covenant leading into Romulus. It was worse than I remembered.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. So I will say, just to talk about Alien Covenant for a moment, because I haven't really in the past, and I really don't want to in the future, this is the time. I thought it was very good for like the first hour.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, this is, so I will say, extremely lacking in character development.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like playing Clue. Like this is the cowboy driver guy.
Yep.
This is the really religious captain who shouldn't be running things. This is the other captain who just got burnt to a crisp that you know nothing about except for that it's James Franco.
Yes.
And like you can't remember anybody's name. I know 0 characters' names from that movie.
Well, they put a
Zero.
lot of that backstory stuff on like a YouTube short that you were supposed to watch before you went and saw the movie. Which
Didn't do that.
I'm not gonna do that. It's homework, yo.
No. I mean, I'd probably do that now. But
No,
like, if
yeah.
I loved the movie, I mean, I probably did do that back then. But like, nobody's doing that now.
No.
So that's a problem. You're not going to stand the test of time if you have to do homework for your movie.
Hmm.
It's supposed to be supplementary. It's not supposed to be required.
Yeah.
But an hour into that movie, everything comes to a screeching halt when they
It
get
really
to the
does.
temple. And they stay there for a half an hour and nothing I care about happens. And then when they leave, it's sort of anticlimactic. But like the alien that like jumps on the ship, I remember being the coolest shot from the trailer. And when you see it in the movie, it's not as good because like it's overly CGI and you're like, ugh. The facehuggers in that movie, also CGI. They really overdo it with the CGI. But like, yeah, that's my whole thing about Alien Covenant.
Yeah, I've seen it once. I bought it when it first came out because I had thought I had to have every Alien movie, and I don't have any plans to revisit it anytime soon.
Yep.
Dumb
And
characters,
me too.
nothing characters, bunch of philosophical android flute playing. I'm out.
Yeah. So just so I'm not completely dumping on that movie, it does have a really good kill. The backburster scene.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, super cool the way they do that. That's practical, it seems like. And yeah, that whole scene's cool.
Except for the girl falling in blood twice, being
Yeah.
a cartoon character. But
Well,
I digress. We digress.
the backburster though, just focus on
Cool.
that.
That was cool. Yeah.
And
Can't
then
argue
everybody
it.
gets exploded.
The girl shoots the exploding tanks.
Yeah, don't do that.
It's gonna get you.
Yeah. Well, and what's really surprising about that is that, like, you know what, we don't need to go into
Yeah,
all
that's,
that. That's enough about
We're not here
Covenant.
for. Yeah, moving on.
I don't want to just bring this episode to a screeching halt. All right. Next,
Yeah.
The Ugly.
The ugly.
You want to take it away because there's only one thing we haven't talked about here, so you know what it is.
The ugly. You talking about the newborn or the hybrid or the?
The hybrid.
Yeah, is that what they're calling it? I was wondering if they called it because the newborn was the creature in Alien Resurrection, right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
This is literally. Go ahead.
It's creepy as all hell, and I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. At first, I saw it
I do too.
and I kind of liked it. And I thought, man, that thing's unsettling, but also, it kind of reminded me of like the Smile Monster, you know? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what somebody brought up? You ever see the movie? I think it's called. It's the movie where I think it's called Legion with Paul Bettany.
Oh, okay.
And have you seen it?
Yeah, a long time ago. So I'll try to remember the reference.
There's like the monster. It's like the dude that has like the long arms. That's like
Oh,
running.
yeah, the ice cream man.
Yeah.
an ice cream
Somebody
man,
brought
yeah.
up how he looks like that.
Yeah.
And I just can't unsee it now.
Oh, yeah. But the initial scene where like it was birthed and you know it's around, and then
Yeah,
like
it's super cool.
it's sitting in like the doorway when they first like showed it. I'm like, that's a strikingly creepy image. And then the more and more they show of it, I'm like, I don't know if I love this, but
No, and like I think that's the problem. It's like apparently he didn't even realize that it was so similar to Alien Resurrection.
really,
Like, yeah, he said that in an interview afterwards. He's like, somebody asked him about it. He's like, oh, I didn't even realize that. It's like, how did you not realize
I
that?
didn't realize that. It was like the only reason for that movie.
Yeah, like, but I will say he does it better than Alien
Oh,
Resurrection
absolutely,
did it.
completely, yeah.
You know, so like mostly pulls it off. I
Mm-hmm.
will say is like the thing with it. He mostly pulls it off. I don't love it, but I don't hate it, and it's creepy, and it's better than Resurrection, and okay, I can dig with it. But I still kind of feel like if they cut off that last like 15 minutes there of the movie, it'd be just as good, if not better.
Just put her into hypersleep she wanted to. That way she survives.
Yeah, put Rain and Kay and Andy into hypersleep, call it a day.
Yeah.
Credits roll.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if the movie ends there,
Yeah.
is it bad?
No, I think it's bad.
No. Not,
do-
not a bad thing.
I do like how they're talking about how they're going towards like the planet's belt there, and I'm like I've never had a situation like that in like movies or anything that I've ever seen before. I'm like, is that gonna be like a cheese grater situation when they get to that thing? And it turned out it was a cheese grater situation.
Yeah,
Which is fun to know. I don't know if that's real science.
Super cool. That whole thing with the end there, all of that where they're going into the rings is it's shot very well.
Yeah, very cool. And maybe my friend Hawley again, I keep bringing her up, but she said she wanted the Rook character to die uglier than he did. And I'm like, he got grinded into nothingness. I don't know what you want more than that.
Yeah, right. Well, if she wants that, you got to show her the original Alien where he gets burned alive.
No, I made her go see it with me.
Nice. Oh yeah, when you saw it in IMAX a couple months ago.
Yeah, it was so awesome.
Yeah, I wish I had gone to that. I think you invited me, but I was doing something already.
No, next time.
Interesting note about that hybrid character is it's played by a basketball player, Robert Bobrazicki.
You got me, kid. That does not ring a bell.
He's giant. He's a giant. He looks like a giant person. So most of that is practical, and he's just a giant dude chasing her around.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And I'm wondering if over time I might come around more to this scene and just get used to it, and it won't bother me as much. But I will say, the newborn in Resurrection is consistently my least favorite part of that movie. So we'll see what happens.
Right, and that could be why we're both having trepidations about this new character, because it's so similar to that movie, and how for the last how many years of Resurrection existing, we've been like, I hate that.
Yeah.
So it's a pre-established feeling for something that's so similar.
Yeah.
I think that feeds into it.
It probably does. So yeah, we'll see.
We'll see, exactly.
We'll see how we feel about it in the long run. And that's why I put it in the ugly, because it is an ugly, giant ugly monster.
It is.
And that's why it's in the ugly and not in the bad, because I've got mixed feelings about it. And it's, I mean, some people out there absolutely love that. And, some people are like, oh, the last 20 minutes completely ruined the movie for me. But by and large, I would say like 95% of the people I've seen talk about this online love the movie. So,
yeah. Which is, and it's great. It's great for the franchise. And it's exciting to move forward, like having him on board. And he even got me kind of like, because we both know there's the Alien TV series coming out, and I've had no care about it at all until this movie came out and kind of stoked my feeling for more new in the franchise.
Yeah, I'm ready for that. And they announced that it's going to be called Alien Earth.
I know, I saw that.
Yeah, so it's Alien Earth. It comes out in 2025. It takes place 30 years before Alien, and it takes place on Earth, obviously. And the guy that is the showrunner on it is Noah Hawley. He did the Fargo TV show and Legion. Have you seen either one of those?
I have seen the first season of Fargo, which is
very
really good.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's
Legion,
him.
Is that the X-Men?
That's the X-Men with Dan Stevens.
I saw the first season of that as well.
I saw the first season too. I never watched any more of it.
Always wanted to go back to it, never did.
I did go back to it, and I still only watched the first season. I finished the first season, and I was like, man, that's so good. And then I never watched the second season. Like, something's wrong with me.
That's weird, man. I do the same thing, though. I do the same thing.
I think I was watching it with Sarah, and like she just stopped watching it, and I just like pounded through the whole season. And I was like, well...
Not to go too
no
far
going
off topic.
Back for you.
But I've recently done that with Daredevil. Like, I went back and started the Daredevil Netflix series over, just because I know that the new series is coming out. And I want to make sure to like refresh my brain and all of it.
Yeah, and you hadn't seen season 3, right?
I haven't seen season 3 yet, so I wanted to watch all of it all the way through. And I finished the first season like 2 weeks ago, and I haven't started anything else yet. And I just feel like that's in danger.
Just skip right ahead to season 3.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Oh, but Pumpkin. Punisher is introduced in season 2.
Why does Pumpkinhead show up in Daredevil? That's awesome.
Well, no, that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Oh, I'd be so happy.
But yeah, back to Alien Earth. I'm kind of excited about that because it is. So he has said that he wants everything to be. He's taking all his technological pieces from. He actually. So while I've seen Ridley Scott and Fede Alvarez in the press as like best friends, Ridley Scott had kind of put Noah Hawley down on this whole thing, and I think it's probably because Noah Hawley was like, well, listen, I'm setting mine to be up setting mine up to match the style of Alien, not the style of Prometheus. It never made sense to me that you've got all these shiny new things of the future in Prometheus that don't exist in any of the other movies. He's like, so it never made sense to me. So, everything in my show is going to be analog. And Ridley Scott basically came out and was like, well, it's not going to be as good. And that's all he said.
That's a high school response.
It is.
Blows raspberry.
Yeah. So, I think the benefit of that is that this is going to be Noah Hawley's singular vision. It's, I've not seen him do anything poor. I haven't watched anything that hasn't been like, well, that was a miss, and so hopefully this isn't that. But everything I have seen of his, he has made his own. Even, Fargo.
Yeah, sure.
Which, that shouldn't have been good.
Yeah, Oscar award-winning movie, and you made still a very good franchise out of it, or series, maybe you say, out of it.
And you should watch those other seasons because they are good as well.
Yeah.
Also, Timothy Olyphant is going to be in this show.
Fantastic. Huge fan.
Pumped about that. They literally just put him in for you and me.
They snuck that past me. I haven't heard that news yet. That makes me happy.
Yeah, and so he's going to be in a ton of people I have no idea about. Never heard of any of them. A bunch of young people, but they were like, throw Timothy Olyphant in there. We'll there'll be a bunch of old guys who get super excited.
Oh, super pumped! Really happy about that. Yeah, and I think maybe this will be our last chance, or maybe our best chance, I should say, of seeing we were mentioning earlier the Kenner alien action figures, where you got the Earth animals that become aliens. Yeah. Maybe we can get a couple of those in there.
Yeah,
if it is based in Earth.
That would be awesome.
Like a gorilla alien?
I love that idea that the alien you get is based off of
the host.
The host.
Yeah.
Have you seen those videos of the dog they were trying to dress up in alien gear for Alien 3?
So funny. That poor dog.
They're like, this just ain't working.
Well, no crap. You strapped a bunch of plastic to a greyhound and told it to run around.
They're like, he can't see shit.
So good. The fact that they tried so hard on that too until they were just like, nah, this is bad.
They're like, okay, what can we do instead of this? And they're like, we could do some really bad CGI. That's all we got.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, we've seen we've seen the xenomorph from a human, and we've seen the xenomorph from a dog, and really that's kind of the only ones we've seen of that type. I mean, we've seen the backbursters a little different, and those little jerks from Covenant, and the newborn, and now what's this thing called again? Hybrid?
Yeah.
So we've seen those, but we haven't seen other creatures birthing those warrior aliens, kind of. So
you know what else we saw?
What was he?
The Predator.
Alien. Okay. Yeah. Forgot about that one.
So it recently came out. One of the people who worked on that movie, they were like, they came out and they released a bunch of images. They're like, I just found the original artwork from this movie. I forget it was like stills that they had done, and he was I forget what he was, the director of photography or something.
Sure.
But he published them online. He's like this, everybody, is what this movie was supposed to look like. He's like, we sent this out to the studio and they completely butchered it. And
really?
Yeah, and he said and so he's releasing these and weeks go by. And I think it was last weekend or something. He came on and he was he released online on his social media, and he was like, hey everyone, thank you all for getting so excited about this stuff. I just spoke with the director of this movie, and he says he wants to. He's in to release a new version of it, a director's cut.
Sorry,
where you can see things.
That would be great. That would be awesome if you could actually see anything that happens in that freaking movie.
Yeah, because that was the thing, is he said the studio completely adjusted all of the color grading they had done and everything, and just completely butchered it, because I think he said that they were trying. So it was rated R. Yeah. They were trying to get it down to PG-13. So instead of recutting it, taking out scenes and whatnot, I think they probably did that too. But they made it darker because they thought that would get it through. And I think they did this after they got the final cut. They were just looking for ways to adjust it, so they dropped the darkness.
Jesus.
They dropped their brightness down, and it
That would
didn't work.
make
It still got an R rating.
that would make sense though. Why it's so overly, blatantly dark. If
Yeah,
it wasn't a creative choice, that's the only reason it could be.
yeah. And so, I think that I would be excited about a version of that movie that I can see.
Sure, why not? Sure, why not? Let's throw it out there.
It's everybody's least favorite movie because you can't see anything through
No.
the whole thing.
Especially like that scene with like the let's not go down that pathway. but
Yeah.
but yeah, it'd be great to be able to see that movie for once.
Yeah, so I'm kind of excited about that prospect of that happening.
I'll kickstart back if they do it.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Another Alien versus Predator related thing. I don't know if you saw that he said this, but Fede Alvarez, he's been doing tons and tons and tons of interviews.
Sure.
But he said that he's like I'm friends with Dan Trachtenberg, who directed Prey and is currently directing
Predator Badlands?
Predator Badlands. It's in production right now, just announced. Pretty excited about that. That takes place in the future instead of the past. And it's cool because, a lot of people were like, just do Prey 2 or do Samurai now. When he's like, no, I've got an idea. And
Samurai.
Yeah, let the guy execute his idea. But I think he is going to come back for another Prey. But Fede Alvarez was like, I'm friends with him. You know what I would like to do? He's like, I have an idea for an Alien versus Predator movie in the style of From Dusk Till Dawn, where he directs half of it and Dan Trachtenberg directs half of it. And you both develop the script together, and then each of you shoots half of it. And so, honestly, I love that
a cool
idea. Yeah,
such a great idea. I hope they do it. And like, as I say, this would be the time to get that ball rolling while the Alien Romulus is so. As you said earlier, how much money is made, how it's a financial success. Try to get it going now before, who knows, studio interference starts popping up again or something.
Get it going now while you have
momentum,
competent people working on it, and the momentum to make it successful via the audience.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, because you look at all the people that they've put in charge of things in the past. Right now, we've got quality people working on these. Dan Trachtenberg's done some great stuff.
Yep.
Fede Alvarez has done some great stuff. Both of them love the franchise. Noah Hawley done some great stuff. So see what all of them do with it before Disney just starts doing their Disney thing. And,
oh yeah, we need 3 of these a year.
Yeah, right. So I'm excited about that idea.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
I do like From Dusk Till Dawn.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
And I think honestly, like even if it turns out poorly, what an experiment. Just do it. Experiment, see what happens.
It's not like you're gonna hurt the first 2 movies. Those aren't really hard and hold in high regards. Like,
right.
Yeah. And you can make them completely unrelated to whatever you're doing with the franchise currently. It's its own little spin-off showcase for some reason.
You can, it'll almost be like DC Elseworlds things or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. A fun fact I wanted to mention before, I know we've talked through most of our stuff and been on for a while, so I wanted to at least make sure we talked about this. The special effects that worked on this movie, so it was like a massive department that they had. They were supervised by Alec Gillis.
Really?
So he's got a pretty interesting filmography. He worked on the special effects of Aliens, Alien 3, Alien vs. Predator, Starship Troopers, and Tremors.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. Apparently, Fede Alvarez went out of his way to make sure that A, the special effects were practical, and B, that he involved people from the original Aliens movie in it.
That's really cool.
Because they were so impressive. And honestly, with this being the way as successful it is, I hope this ends up leading to more movies doing this, doing practical effects. That's
completely agree. It's all we really want. Like, we're all sick of like CGI blob versus CGI blob. Just have an alien, have a puppet.
Yeah, exactly. One other thing I saw in recent news was that Sigourney Weaver was being interviewed because she won this big award.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about David Fincher, who directed Alien 3.
Sure.
And basically she was like, I loved working with David Fincher. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. And she's like, I'm so sad that he went through what he went through on that movie. She said like he was literally fighting with the studio every single day to make shots happen, to keep his vision alive. And in the end, it mostly didn't happen. David Fincher said he got fired like 3 times on that movie.
I've heard that, yeah.
So she was talking about that whole experience, and she was like, the original idea, as everybody knows, is, you know, this whole monastery idea with me being in a coma and all these things. And, you know, apparently there's an assembly cut of Alien 3 out there. Assembly cut is what they call it. It was put together by the crew, the cast and crew of the movie, not David Fincher, because he wants nothing to do with it.
Sure.
But they were like, hey, this is as close as we can get it to what we think his original vision was. And by and large, everybody says that the movie is better.
I mean, I don't hate Alien 3. And that would be exciting to see if they actually like threw that out on a DVD. I'd watch that too.
It is on DVD, I believe.
Oh, it's actually out there?
It is out there. Many people have seen it. It has existed for a long time.
I didn't know that.
I have not seen it somehow.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, you should, because it's out there, and it's got a different ending.
Okay, cool.
And it's got a different beginning, and it's got different scenes in the middle. So,
the beginning, sorry. You brought back trauma.
yeah. So somebody had told me online that Newt and Hicks are still dead in this version, but it's just done in a different way. That's not as like
off screen.
No, well, I think it's still off screen, but it's not done in like it's not done in a way that's so like disrespectful, I guess.
Jesus, yeah. Okay, I would definitely watch that. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah. And Sigourney Weaver ended her portion on that by saying nobody's discussed bringing her back or anything like that, but she was like, but I would.
Yeah, of course she would. And none of us something to be against it. We wouldn't be against it, I don't think, at all. But it had to work somehow. They had to find a way to. I guess they got Colonial and everything else. They could figure some way out.
You know what they do? So Neil Blomkamp, if you remember, was working on a version of these movies where he comes in, and I think they were just going to make Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection like fever dreams with her in cryosleep. I just slapped my microphone.
I heard that.
Nice. And the movie is now her, a grown-up Newt, and a war-torn Hicks still fighting aliens and like hunting them across the galaxy.
God,
to me, that sounds like an awesome idea.
God, I want that so bad. Yeah, I've heard that rumor for years, and that'd be so great to see.
Give us that.
Give us that. Before you can't give us that, yeah.
Right. I mean, they're all still alive. Get a new actress for Newt because she doesn't act anymore. You know, that was the only thing she ever did. It's a hell of a one credit, though.
Who would you cast as Newt? This is probably going too far off topic.
Who would I cast as Newt? How old is Newt?
She was famously said her age in the movie famously, and I'm blanking on it.
Yeah, but as an adult, so she's got to be like what, 30 then?
Yeah,
maybe I mean, we can figure this out because we figure out how old Sigourney Weaver is now, and when that movie came out, so how long it's been. How old is Sigourney Weaver? She's 74.
Dang.
Yep. How old was Sigourney Weaver in Aliens? 28. So 74 minus 28 is 46.
46.
Oh, so we're looking for an old actress. So we get an actress that's like what, 50?
Yeah. Jennifer Gardner's so hot right now.
Who? I'd want somebody that kind of looks war torn too, though. You know? Wouldn't it be crazy if you?
What's Hilary Swank up to nowadays?
I'm not casting Hillary Swank. You're out of your mind.
Just first thing pops in my head. Don't know why.
Oh, man. 50-year-old actresses. We got Kate Blanchett, Jennifer Aniston, Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Can't be her.
Oh, oh, no, but she's not blonde.
Yeah, not blonde.
I saw Neve Campbell as Sarah, what about Sarah Michelle Gellar?
Wow, bring her back, get her going.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
Why not? I'm in for it.
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't even see her on this list, but Neve Campbell reminded me of her for some reason.
Nope, we fixed it.
Has never done anything where she's blonde, right?
I don't think so.
Because, I mean, other than the blonde hair, I would totally pick her for it.
I like the Sarah Michelle Gellar answer. I don't know why, but I love it.
I think Sarah Michelle Gellar is my answer. I think that's what it's got to be. I would love to see her.
That's a lot of fun. I like that.
That's so much fun. That's what we're going with.
Okay.
Took us a while to get there, but we got
it
there.
In. It wasn't even that long. Lock it in.
People are like, why doesn't he know any of this math? Why is he?
Oh, dude, I hope you like. I didn't want to embarrass myself with like how bad I'm at. I deal with numbers at work all day, and like outside of work, my brain just shuts down with numbers.
Right, you're like 5 + 2.
Just carry the 16. I don't know. Pi 3.14. I don't know. All right,
Siri, what's 5 + 4?
back on track. Where were we at? We were at.
So I think we've wrapped up. All of this stuff, and all we've got left here is the physical media showcase.
Yes, sir.
You want to? How many things do you have?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, 5 things, kind of. There's 5 big things.
I have 3.
3? Well, let me get started then. I'll start off.
Yeah, why don't you get started?
Okay. So the first thing I wanted to bring out is you mentioned it earlier, and I have a PS4 version of it somewhere, but I can't find it. But Alien Isolation.
There we go. I only have the digital version.
Yeah, I have a PS4 version, but I can't find it. But I got it for PS3. The game was so good, I got it for PS4 too. And then also for PS3, I had the Aliens vs Predator game, which I don't know if you ever played this one. Really
no,
solid.
I didn't.
Really solid. I think it kind of came out, and no one really like paid attention to it. But I really like that one as well. It was also by Sega. And then lastly,
back when it didn't cost $1 billion to make a video game,
right? And like you didn't have to like be online always to play that.
Yeah.
And then I have a game that I haven't even played yet, but I bought it for cheap because I think I needed to have it, and that is.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Aliens, Colonial Marines.
I've heard about this game. I've never played it.
Notoriously broken game that doesn't work. That is apparently like one of the worst games of its era, but it's Aliens, and I bought it for cheap, and I've always wanted to throw it in and try it. I haven't gotten around to it yet.
But it's Aliens.
It's Aliens, exactly. All right. Oh,
was that 3 things, or was that one thing?
I was going to do one thing. You were going to do one thing, I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was 3 and you were just going all the way to 5.
Yeah.
Or... That was one thing?
It's one thing, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we're in for the long haul.
Yeah.
All right, so I think you're going to like this.
I'm excited. There he is! The Gorilla Alien. I have the exact same thing somewhere.
The Gorilla Alien, and he's got the little mechanism on his back here.
And he's
one of his mechanisms is broken.
Naturally.
Oh yeah, he does, doesn't he?
He squirts water.
About that.
Yeah.
How does he do that? Does that happen when he does this?
You put you squeeze the back of his head there. See, it's soft, and you just put it in water, fill it up with water, and then squeeze it, spit it out.
I bet the inside of his head is so gross.
Oh, probably like.
I bet like little kid me like did Kool-Aid or something once.
There's like a new form of penicillin inside that head.
But yeah, this dude is awesome, and he is always on a shelf that I have behind me here that you can't really see because we're in such small screens, but it is behind me, and he's always on it. So keep an eye out.
I have him, and I have the bull alien still somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta bring that bull alien on next time.
Gotta get him around. He's in a box somewhere. We'll find him someday. So the next thing I wanted to show off was a few years ago now when Marvel got the rights back to Aliens and they put out the new comic book series.
Yeah, it was I think 2 years ago. I want to say
2 years ago. Well, they put out a whole bunch of
21.
21, I think sounds right. They put out actually it has it right on here. No, it doesn't. Doesn't matter. So they put out a whole bunch of variants of like comic book covers of like Marvel heroes fighting aliens, and I picked up a bunch of them. So, firstly, we have Iron Fist. No, that's
I can barely see that. Lift it up a little bit.
up. Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
pretty cool.
now you got Iron Fist fighting an alien there.
I hadn't seen that one before.
Yeah. So I have that one. I have one of Captain Marvel. You see that?
Yeah,
Kinda,
with it like hiding behind her there.
yeah, she got the
Oh,
cat,
and the little Flarkin
little
there.
flirkin, yeah, kind of like in like Jinx. So there's that one I have. I have Wolverine. This is a darker one, but yeah, Wolverine there. He's stabbing an alien.
Yeah, I'd seen that. So now that's the question: can the acid melt the adamantium?
That is the question. I don't know.
We'll never know because it
Never know.
probably isn't actually in the storyline.
Probably not in the storyline at all. And lastly, I have Captain America with him going against the Xenomorph there.
No, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite
Wasn't
of
there
them.
like a Guardians of the Galaxy cover too?
I wasn't going to show it off, but there was, yeah. I have it. There.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's like the coolest one,
That's
man.
the coolest one. I thought it was dumb.
Why?
I don't know. Just the way they like,
Like, well,
oh, I kind of see it now. Like, it's like Ripley holding Newt. I kind of see it now. Okay. With Rocket and Groot there.
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, I had that one too. I don't know why I panicked and wasn't going to show it. I thought I was showing too much, I guess. But,
No,
yeah.
just in case Ridley Scott watches this and it has the Queen on the cover, he
He's
didn't
like,
want
I'm
to.
going to hate
No,
it. No, 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 no.
no.
But yeah, so I collected those covers. I don't know. I don't think I got all of them. I think there was like an Iron Man one too. I never got, but it was fun
Could
to
so.
it's fun to grab them, and I like having them in my collection.
Yeah, so I'm gonna preface this by saying I did not remember how earlier I was like I think I might dig out some of those old Alien comics. I didn't.
That's all right.
I ran out of time tonight.
It happens quick.
But so your things are awesome, and I how many things do you have left?
2.
Okay, I was gonna do these both at the same time, and I will continue
Okay.
to do that. So the first thing is my 4K of Alien.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it's got the 4K edition, the Blu-ray, and the digital, and it's the 40th anniversary edition. There's another 4K edition of this out there that's not the 40th anniversary edition that looks and is exactly the same, except it just doesn't have that little line on it.
Yeah.
So you don't really get anything extra for this.
But
But
yeah,
I will tell you, it looks absolutely awesome in 4K. And, I won't go on my whole soapbox about how much better 4K discs look than streaming, but it really does. It really does
I'm
look
aware of this
awesome.
soapbox. I've seen this soapbox.
Yep. But also, so the cool thing about this is that it has that director's cut on it, or what they were calling was the special editions. So you can watch both versions of the movie, which like I said, for this one, I like to watch the regular one because I just think it flows better.
It's
And
perfect.
Ridley Scott has even said that he likes the regular version better,
Right.
anyways. But he did that version just because. But it is cool to see some of those scenes, to at least see them.
Yeah, I have that ordered. It was supposed to be delivered, and it just
The same
hasn't.
one.
Yeah, it hasn't come. It's been like a
Nice.
week now, and they said it's out for delivery and it hasn't shown up. So someday I'll get it.
Yeah. The other thing I have in this is the Aliens 4K.
Fantastic.
So, and I got the slipcover for this one. So I'm pretty excited about that. I pre-ordered this, whereas the other one I got way after the fact. Same thing with this one though. Looks absolutely beautiful. A lot of controversy behind this one because they smoothed it a lot.
Really.
A lot of the grain has been removed, and James Cameron kind of used AI to improve a lot of shots. And a lot of people really, really, really hate that. And a lot of people who know more technically than I do. But I think my ignorance has kind of, helped me out in this case because I think it looks awesome.
Yeah.
Like there's shots where you see like the alien egg and you see so much detail on this alien egg. And there's a ton of shots like that. And this one, I actually prefer the special edition on because same thing. It has the theatrical and the special director's cut. And for Aliens, I'm of the opinion that I'll watch a 5-hour cut of that movie if you give it to me. Just as much as you'll give me, I'll take.
We gotta watch that one these nights. Just in your 4K player, just so I can see.
Yeah, and honestly, the sound in it, like you can hear like literally like things dripping in the background and everything. It's so good.
That's cool.
So yeah, you definitely got to come up and check this one out. And I don't know if you've ever seen the special edition version.
No.
But it's got a whole scene you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the scene where like Newt and her parents go, and you find out that like her dad is the first one that was face hugged. Yeah, that's such a cool detail, and there's a ton of scenes like that that are really good. So I just watched that the other night, and it makes it a longer watch, but I never complain about that with Aliens.
Longer watch, but worth her watch. Worth her watch.
Absolutely, worth her watch.
Worth her watch.
Werther's original.
Werther's original. All right, so yeah, the next couple of things I was going to show off was a couple of my Alien board games. I have.
There you go.
Alien Fede Nostromo, right there.
Ah.
So this is kind of like the targety, kind of family weight game where you go around, you collect stuff on the Nostromo to try to escape the ship before it explodes. And It's a lot of fun. This is one I've been meaning to play with you. I just haven't gotten it up to your place yet. But
yeah, we got to play that one.
Yeah, this one I think maybe even like we can get Sarah to join in on us with us one time.
Yeah, because she says all the time. She's like, "How come every board game you play is either space or horror or space horror?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say
perfect example.
Perfect example. And then I was going to say the game that we definitely couldn't get her to play with us because I think it's going to take 3 times as long as that game is Aliens: Another Glorious Day in the Core.
I've wanted to play this for so long.
Yeah. I keep bringing it up. We keep meaning to bring it down to Philly with us when we go on our board game trips. Haven't done it yet. This is a dungeon crawl through...
I love dungeon crawlers.
Yeah, dungeon crawl through the Alien movies. Like they have scenarios you can play. All the different aliens come on the board, and you can load up your guns and go shoot. And it looks awesome. But this is a time sink, I'm pretty sure. So we gotta get this taken care of sometime too. But I think that would be a Philly trip more than anything.
Yeah.
And then do you have anything else to show off? Because I have one
more thing.
All right, go ahead.
Quick question. Do you have any of those expansions for Another Glorious Day in the Core? Because I know they've released a lot of them, and they're even available at Walmart.
Yeah. Funny story about that is like I got that game because I traded it on Board Game Geek with a guy for a game called Roll for the Galaxy. I traded him that game for his Another Glorious Day in the Core, and it came with Get Away From Her, You Bitch expansion. So I have that.
Nice.
That's upstairs.
Yeah, there's some really cool ones there. All right. Okay, so what I have here is...
Oh, fantastic.
The Alien Romulus popcorn bucket. So this thing is awesome.
That is awesome.
So you've got your... So it's aluminum or something.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I was hoping... I never saw the facehugger side of it. I'm glad that they have that on there.
Yeah, it's not just solid black the whole way around, but... Yeah,
that's
this
cool.
thing is so cool. I knew... So I chose my theater solely based off the popcorn bucket. And then Regal went and released a second popcorn bucket. And I was like, oh my God, I would love to have that too. But this is like the year of the popcorn buckets. There's been so many cool ones going out. So this was not a bad price either. And so I got that opening night. But you and I then ordered those ones with the green lights on them.
Yeah.
I'm so pumped to get that.
I'm excited for that too. Especially after I got kind of boned out of the other one, the one that came with the AMC that went in your hand and it was the alien head. And they literally sold out of those while I was in line. Like that sucks.
Yeah, they
sold the last one off the popcorn machine before I could get up there. And I'm like, you guys got any more in the back? You got any more in? And he's like, nah, that's it. I'm like, this is like the second showing of the day. How is this possible?
You know what the problem is I read into this, and Regal and Cinemark were selling them before opening night.
That's bogus bullcrap.
So they weren't selling them solely for people that showed up opening night. If you came, like, I think somebody had said they saw them at Cinemark like a week before.
Yeah, while we were there, my friend Hawley again, there was a Beetlejuice popcorn bucket there that she bought, and apparently that's now the new hotness is this Beetlejuice popcorn bucket. And Beetlejuice comes out what, next week?
Yeah, I think it comes out tomorrow actually.
Oh, well, anyways, that's like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense then if they were sold out. But why do that? Why do that? Just
doesn't make any sense. No. Borderlands ones were there when I went, and Borderlands wasn't out yet. And I hear Borderlands is terrible, but I digress.
I can't see it. Oh, my last thing then.
Digital soon enough, I'm sure.
My last thing. So my friends Josh and Molly are having a baby, and they had a baby shower, like a joint thing where like men and women all went. And I bought them something that I ended up not being able to bring myself to give to them. So now it's just part of my collection, and that is the little golden book. A is for Alien.
Nice.
So apparently this is a little golden book based on the Alien series that helps kids spell with the characters from Alien for a reason.
Nice.
So I have this now. Am I
That's
excited?
Awesome.
Am I excited about this? Kinda.
Jonesy.
Yeah. So that's my Alien stuff. I also have the Legendary Encounters game. It's back there. It's buried. I've been moving my stuff around. I didn't feel like getting it out.
As you were going over your board games, I remembered that I have the Legendary Encounters Alien game. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, I wish I had grabbed that because it is a cool game.
It's
you
a
have
great game. Yeah.
Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection as missions you can go through. Mm-hmm. For anybody that doesn't know, it's a deck builder. Super fun, though. I would love to play that again.
I would love to play it again. Like, the night we got into it, it took us a bit to get going because every game takes us a bit to get going. But once we got going, I'm like, God, this is so smooth with the exploration and the revealing of the threats and everything. I'm like, I had a lot of fun with it after we got going, of course.
As did I. Yeah. All right. Did you have anything else you wanted to go over here? Any closing thoughts?
No, sir. I'm good.
All right. Well, then I think that's a perfect way to wrap up.
All right.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to get notified of the latest episodes, and follow me on barknightmedia.com or at Barknight Podcast on Threads and Instagram. Until next time, this has been the Bark Knight Podcast. Thank you.
Take care.